Hello everyone, it's Ranger Russ here at the Meigs Nature Center for another episode of My Favorite Animal. And we're going to do a quiz to see if you can figure out the favorite animal. But before I do that, I want to remind everyone Connecticut state parks are opened. You can visit the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection, Environmental and Energy Protection, of Energy and Environmental Protection. They changed the name and I'm still not caught up on it. You can visit there and find out what parks are currently open, because sometimes a park may have to close due to capacity being filled up. While you're at a park, if you're not able to keep your social distance, please cover your face with your mask. Other than that, if you just can keep 6 feet distance, which is about 2 of our animals today, keep 2 animals. I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's going to be a surprise. We really need to maintain this distance though. Just because you're outside, just because you're at a park, doesn't mean that you're going to be safe. So, in order to keep safe, we need to maintain our social distance or cover our faces. I also want to ask everybody to check on your friends and neighbors. Just find somebody to check on. Somebody that you haven't checked on in a while. Make sure they're okay. Share things if you've got them. Help them out if you can. It's always good to help other people. It makes us feel good when we help other people. All right. Are you ready for today's animal? What we're going to do, we've done this a couple of times. So I'm going to show you first the track, and we'll see some guesses. See if anybody can tell what type of animal has this track. Everybody see that well? Okay, so that is the track of the animal today. This is the one that we're going to be learning about. All right. Any guesses with just the track? I know you guys are a little bit behind what I'm seeing, so. The next thing I'm going to show you will be the skull of the animal. So we'll see if anybody... Hello, Cheshire. If you guys want to continue to comment and put up where you're from, I really appreciate that. Someone says coyote. You are close. It is close to a coyote. We actually did a program on a coyote a few weeks ago. So if you want to see the past programs that we did, you can go to our YouTube channel, Meigs Point Nature Center YouTube channel. You can subscribe there and watch all the past shows, but that's where you can see the show on the coyote. I guess Alexander says a dog. It is not a dog, but you are on the right track. It's smaller than most of the dogs that we have. Wolf, no, you're on the right track still. The wolf would be quite a bit larger. That track, so let's look back at the track again. This track is pretty close to actual size. So if you see that next to my hand, it's not a large track, but it's similar to a dog. Here, we'll just look at the skull. So we've got the skull here. Someone says hyena. All the animals that we do are going to be native to Connecticut. It's similar to a hyena, but hyenas are in Africa. A fox, yes, it is a fox. So take a look at this skull. It does look a lot like a dog's skull. And so dogs have lots of different shapes to their skull. The domestic dogs that we have been bred for many years to have different shapes. So, some dogs have a very wide head, short nose. Some have a very long nose and a thin head. Some have very small and some are very large. So there are some dogs that have a very similar skull to the skull of a fox. Now, this skull that I'm showing you, I also have the silhouette, if you didn't get it. That's the silhouette of our fox. Okay. So there are some fox that have this type of skull. This is from a red fox. I also have the skull of a gray fox. Gray fox tend to be smaller than the red fox. And, let me hold them up here side by side. So they are smaller. The gray fox on the top here is quite a bit smaller than the red fox. The gray fox will only get to be about 12 pounds max. Usually they're less than that, usually about 9 or 10. The red fox will get up to 15 pounds, so quite a bit larger. But so one of the major features of red fox is a longer snout, a longer nose than the gray fox. Notice the gray fox has that shorter nose. Now, if you look at these teeth, that would typically tell you that this is a carnivore, this is a predator. Fox are considered to be omnivores. They are pretty opportunistic. They'll eat anything. So if they find a berry patch or something like that, they're going to eat it. Although their primary food are smaller mammals, maybe some frogs, things like that, they will eat fruits and vegetables if they come across them. Okay? Now I've mentioned gray fox and red fox. So here I have the pelt of a red fox, and you can obviously see how it gets that color. The fox is the most widespread of any of the dog family. So these are found all over. The red fox is found all over Europe and Asia. There's only a couple of places in southern Asia where you can't find them, and a couple of places in northern Europe where you can't find them. All over northern parts of North America, so mostly Canada and the northern U.S. We are almost at about the southern range of the red fox. Okay, so let's look at the black-tipped ears. That's one of the defining features of the fox, is it's got black tips on the ears. The other one is the white tip on the tail. Okay? And it sort of looks like, most of the time, it sort of looks like it has rings of black on it. Sometimes not as much as others. So remember, in nature you get a lot of exceptions. So you're going to get lots of variety in the color of the fox. And one of the colors is this. This is a silver fox. Look at that color. It's longer fur. Now this one was, these are bred in captivity for their pelt. So this is even nicer than a wild one. But these occur in the wild. And these are melanistic versions of the red fox, which means they have a lot more black in their pelt. Okay, instead of having red pigment, they have black. And they still have the white tip on the tail. Okay, and notice how thick that tail is. So these are found, there are a couple of places in Canada where they're very common. Years ago they were more common. They were hunted. This pelt is worth a lot more than a red fox pelt. So these were taken years ago when they were trapped regularly. They took the silver fox more often than the red fox. So the gray fox is similar to the silver fox. Okay, you can see it's got a little bit of reddish tinge to it. It's got some red up there around the head. Remember, it's smaller. This pelt is not as large. And it doesn't have the white tip on the tail. Okay, so that's one of the ways you can tell. If you see a fox and it's really hard because they blend in, they have great camouflage, so they blend in with their surroundings. If you see the tip of their tail, you'll be able to tell whether it's a gray fox or a red fox. Those are the only two fox that we have in Connecticut. And the red fox is going to have that white tip on the tail. The gray fox is not. They have great camouflage, I mentioned, and they will blend into their surroundings really well. They are usually lighter on the bottom, so they're going to have a white or a light tan belly. Now, they also live different amounts of time. The red fox in the wild only lives 1 to 3 years. That's really a short time, right? Where the gray fox can live 6 to 8 years. So it more than doubles the lifespan of the red fox. And remember, the red fox are, 5 or so pounds heavier than the gray fox. Something new that I discovered when I was researching this program, because I do look up the animals before I do the program, just to see if I can find something new, I found out that the male fox are called dogs. They're called dog fox if it's a male. The females are called vixens. And I did know that. That's really cool that it's called a vixen. And then the baby fox are called cubs. Cubs are kits. Sometimes they call them kit. So a cub or a kit for a fox. That's the babies. Now, the red fox is one of the only dog species, or in the family of dogs, in the world, it is the only one that can retract its claws. If you remember, I did a bobcat program, and I said dogs can't retract their claws, so that's why when you look at a track, if you see the claws, then you know it's not going to be a cat, it's going to be a dog. This one is an exception. They don't always do it. Most of the time with their tracks, you are going to see the claws, but they have the capability of retracting their claws, which is really cool for a red fox. All right. Do we have any questions? If you have any questions, you can put them up. Are we having audio difficulties again? We had them yesterday as well. All right, hopefully this is okay. I think I might have a short in the wire on this microphone here. So, all right, you can put up your questions, and also if you wouldn't mind putting up where you're messaging from, we always like to see where people are messaging from. So do we have any questions? Hey. Happy birthday, Alexander. Oh, it was your dog's birthday. Happy birthday, Alexander's dog. Alexander, tell me what kind of dog you have. Actually, everyone that has a pet dog should send a smiley face up and see how many smiley faces we get for all the people with pet dogs out there. Do they have an exoskeleton? Nope. The dogs and canines, most mammals, or all the mammals, have an internal skeleton. So these are vertebrate animals, which means they have backbones, and usually that means that they have an internal skeleton as well. So their bones are inside of them. Fox seems to enjoy chickens. Yes, they do like chickens. They are opportunistic. They do prey in the wild. They prey very often on birds that tend to stay on the ground. So they can get mourning doves and quail and pheasant and things like that that stay on the ground. Typically, a fox is not going to attack dogs or people. It's just because they don't see us or our dogs as prey items. They tend to befriend dogs more than attack them. However, here's where we talk about rabies. Because in the state of Connecticut, fox are a rabies vector species. So there's a good vocabulary word. You guys should check the website, the Virtual Learning Center, and you can see lists of vocabulary words. So one of the words for today will be a vector. That means that it's an animal that readily carries a disease. And for fox, they do carry rabies. They have a pretty high probability of rabies in the state of Connecticut. So it doesn't mean it's greater than 50% or anything. It's probably around 15 or 20% or less. But they can carry rabies. So when you encounter a fox, if you encounter any wild animal that is being friendly, chances are you should stay away from it. That is an unusual behavior, and you should stay away from animals that are exhibiting unusual behaviors. But the fox is definitely a rabies vector. There are only 3 rabies vectors in Connecticut. The fox, the skunk, and the raccoon are the 3 rabies. You have a question?
Alexander's dog's name is Max, and he's a Chihuahua.
Max the Chihuahua. Happy birthday to Max the Chihuahua. Why such a short lifespan? That's a great question. Now, with dogs, larger dogs don't live as long as smaller dogs. Now, the really tiny dogs are an exception because they're bred to be so tiny. But a medium or small sized dog tends to live twice as long as a larger breed dog. That may be the case with the red fox because the red fox is so much larger than the gray fox. That could have something to do with it. But I really don't know for sure why it is the red fox only lives 3 years. Now that's an average. They can live longer in captivity because they do breed these in captivity for their fur. In captivity they can live up to 12 years. In the wild they can live 6 to 9 on the high end. But the average is only 3 years, which is really surprising. And another really interesting thing about fox is they only take one mate. So once they find a mate, they're going to stick with them. Until one of the pair dies, they are going to stay with their mate. That makes them a little difficult to breed in captivity. It was a lot of work to breed them in captivity. The silver fox is the one that is mainly bred in captivity, though, because they really like these, the fur. The Russian czars always had silver fox for their coats and their cloaks and things, so it was a sign of royalty in Russia, and that's why most of the ones that are trapped here were trapped in North America, were shipped to Russia and China. Those were the two places where they were sent for the most part. All right, any other questions up here? Can you keep fox for a pet? So, it's not a very good idea to keep a fox for a pet. Some people do it. Some people that raise them for their pelts do sort of treat them like pets more than livestock, but it's not a good idea. Any wild animal should be left in the wild, and even if you're breeding them and keeping them in captivity, it doesn't mean that it's safe to be a pet. So you should be cautious with live animals, especially the ones that have rabies. Oh, here's another question. Do domesticated animals have rabies? And for the most part, they don't, but they can get rabies. So that's one of the reasons why if you're walking your dog and you encounter a fox, even though the fox is probably not going to attack your dog, if it gets too close to your dog or is too friendly with your dog, then it may spread rabies to your dog or to you. So you should keep your distance from animals that are being overly friendly. A fox in the wild should keep a good distance. You might be able to see them, but they should be keeping a really good distance. They're really smart, so they will stay at a good distance. They're very clever animals. That's why they're hard to trap. Sometimes they're really hard to see as well because they're hiding in the bushes all the time. All right, any other questions? Is there anything else I wanted to tell you about fox? So again, good vocabulary word, melanistic, for an animal. So I did a program a while back on squirrels, and black squirrels are melanistic. That's why they end up looking black. It's kind of like the reverse of being albino. They end up being almost all black, where albinos are white. All right, how many fox make 6 feet? It's about 2 fox, okay? So again, the red fox is a little bit larger, so they get about 3 feet, and the gray fox are about 2.5 feet. So you'll need 2.5 gray foxes to 2 red foxes to make up your social distance. All right, they are called sly foxes for a reason. Yes, they are. That's very cool. They are sly foxes. A group of fox, I'll have to look it up. We'll post online what a group of fox is called, but it has something to do with how clever they are. I don't remember off the top of my head what a group of foxes are called. And they will stay together. That's a good point. Fox will stay together in a family group for quite a while. So the male and female and their cubs will stick around together until they're ready to have another litter. So, and they only have one litter a year. So they will have the babies will stay with the parents. Even though they're full size and able to hunt on their own, they'll still stick around for about a year. Okay, this afternoon I'm going to be visiting a state park. I like to do them on Fridays, but tomorrow looks like worse weather than today, so I'm going to try and get out to a state park today. Can they climb trees? Oh, great question. Red fox can't, but the gray fox is the only dog that can climb trees. I found that amazing when I found that out. That's really cool. Thank you, Ruth, for that question. Now I get lots of questions here. Let's see. A fox comes very close to my home at night, up to the fence. Is this a possible problem? So I'm going to say, if you're seeing a fox regularly, it's probably not an issue. That fox has probably created its hunting route, its search for food, which they're constantly looking for food. And if you're seeing it regularly, that means that you're part of its search for food. If it's an unusual thing, if you see it wandering down the middle of the street where you've never seen them before, that doesn't mean that they won't be out in the day. Don't think, oh, I saw one in the day, that means it has rabies. That's not what it means. You're really looking for unusual behavior. If they're not able to walk in a straight line, if they're wandering around or stumbling, if they're losing a lot of fur, there's other things that they can get as well that cause them, they can get mange and other things. So those are the things you really want to watch out for. But if they're sneaking along a woods line or just cutting quickly across a field, they're probably okay. That would be a normal hunting or food searching behavior. Rachel, thank you. A group of fox is called a skulk. So skulking is to sneak around. I thought that was so cool. They skulk around, so you call a group of fox a skulk. Thank you. Rachel's my sister, by the way. All right. Any other questions? Looks like someone's doing a report on foxes. Alexander, that's Alexander. Cool. Yeah, I found that amazing that a gray fox can think they can climb trees. Black bears do climb trees. If you see a raccoon in the morning, is that normal? So, I'm going to do a whole program on raccoon, but since we're talking about rabies, let's just mention that raccoons are very opportunistic. So, if there is food around in the middle of the day, that's the time they're going to go look for food. The raccoons here at Hammonasset, they will usually search the dumpsters at night, but sometimes, because there's people dumping food in the middle of the day, they'll come out and climb right in a dumpster looking for food because it smells good, so they will do that. So that, not necessarily if you see a raccoon in the morning, is it a bad sign. They are dusk and dawn and nocturnal, so they can be active at all of those times. What does a fox say? So that sounds like the beginning of a joke, but I'm going to say that the foxes make a very loud yipping noise. It sounds like a small dog barking. So they can make noises. The the pups make some cool noises when they're hungry and looking for mom. They make some really cool noises. You guys should look up, I'm not able to play the sounds because I'm using my phone to film this, but you should look up fox sounds and see the cool noises that they can make. Fox are not like coyotes, though, and they don't sit there and sing a lot. They do make noise, but not as often as coyotes. Coyotes make a lot more noise than the fox do. All right, I want to thank everybody. I'm having a great time doing these programs, and I hope you are as well. Again, 2 o'clock, I will be out at another state park. I'm not going to give it away. I think I know where I want to go, but I want to make sure that it's not getting too crowded. So I'm staying in parks that don't get too full. If parks are filling up regularly, I'm not going to go visit them. I don't want to encourage more people to a park that's getting filled up. But please continue to go to the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection's website to see which parks are available for you to visit. And I encourage you to get out, get some fresh air, breathe that nice air. If you are doing the Great Backyard Pursuit, I hope you're enjoying it. Continue to check. And if you're not doing it regularly, check and just do the activities. They're lots of fun. It'll be lots of fun to do them together sometime. Alexander has a small dog that acts big. Small dogs tend to do that. I always find that amusing. They think they're the biggest dog in the neighborhood. All right, so I hope you're all having a good time. I will see you this afternoon at 2 o'clock, and again tomorrow at 11 and 2. Continue to like us or follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and go to meigspointnaturecenter.org's virtual learning center for more information about the animals that I'm doing programs on. Thank you for tuning in.